Good afternoon. It was the war to end all wars. It didn't, and today the nation paid homage not only to those who died in the First World War, but also to those lost in so many conflicts since. In a moving tribute, and at a time determined by the Armistice of 1918, 2 minutes silence was observed across the United Kingdom and beyond, at the 11th hour on this, the 11th day of the 11th month. The Defence Secretary was in Afghanistan, the military chiefs at the Cenotaph in London. Young and old alike, in classrooms and in factories, bowed their heads and remembered the sacrifice of so many men and women across the ages. Emily Morgan watched a moment of national reflection.
For the first time ever, not just on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, but also in the 11th year, the nation stopped to remember. Exactly 93 years ago today, the guns fell silent on the First World War. The number of years past made cruelly plain by the absence, for the first time, of veterans of that war.
I was thinking of names all the while, such as people who were carried down the hill and things like that, and walking through minefields when the Jeep Cab blew up.
At the National Memorial Arboretum in Staffordshire, 500 people stood together in memory of those killed serving their country more recently, their names littering the walls.
Father, we thank you that you have called us to come not to glorify war, but to honour those who have given their lives.
Up and down the country, young and old stopped to reflect. The England football team stood still, while children planted crosses in Dundee. In Sunderland, Tom Cuthbertson remembered his son, Private Nathan Cuthbertson, killed in Afghanistan 4 years ago. He campaigned for this memorial, built to remember those killed in 22 conflicts since the Second World War.
I think Nathan, he'll be as proud of us as what I am of him. And I did this for Nathan. The charity was set up in Nathan's memory and all the other boys' names' memory. And I'm just a small sacrifice, what we can do. Nothing, I think, what the boys and the girls is dying for, with Queen and country.
It was King George V who pronounced that in perfect stillness, the thoughts of everyone may be concentrated on the reverent remembrance of the glorious dead. Once again, the nation united in his pledge. Emily Morgan, ITV News.
For the British men and women who are currently serving their country, today was particularly poignant. Thousands of soldiers across Afghanistan paused to pay tribute to lost comrades from both past and present conflicts, the most recent killed just 2 days ago. They were joined by Philip Hammond, who's on his first official visit since becoming Defence Secretary. Our senior political correspondent Chris Shipp sent this report from Camp Bastion in Helmand Province.
There can be no more poignant a place to mark sacrifice in conflict than in the country where conflict remains a reality, in the country where another British life was lost this week. At Camp Bastion in Afghanistan, 3,500 men and women in uniform descended on the parade ground to remember the pain of wars past, but in particular, the fresh wounds of a war very much in the present.
At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
For Britain's new Defence Secretary, the first Armistice Day in Afghanistan. New to the job or not, when the responsibility for sending soldiers into battle is yours, laying a wreath means so much more. At 11 o'clock Afghan time, they fell silent here. 385 soldiers, sailors and airmen have given their lives since politicians decided to send them to this conflict 10 years ago. Is it possible for a non-military man new to the Ministry of Defence really to understand the sacrifice that these soldiers and their families make?
It has become very real, but of course no one can ever understand it, no one can ever feel it like the families of the men and women involved, like the men and women of our armed forces.
At Camp Bastion there will be 3 more Armistice Day ceremonies like this one, 3 more years in which to remember sacrifice before British combat forces can come home from Afghanistan for good. But inevitably, time for more names to be added to the already long list of the fallen here. Chris Ship, ITV News, Camp Bastion, Afghanistan.